Good morning, Evelyn. Now, the very first question that I would want to go with is you were selected or actually announced as one of the 18 female innovators to receive the Culture Women Initiative Award. What does that really mean to you as a person, and how much does it mean to the image of Vouch Digital?
Thank you very much. So, one of the finalists of the Culture Women's Initiative Award has been such a great honor. It's an international award, first of all, and it recognizes women entrepreneurs. For us, being part of that is huge validation that the work we are doing in Uganda and across the world is being recognized. So it's such a huge honor for us, and we are excited to use this opportunity to even impact more.
What do you actually think really made you stand out? I mean, there is a lot of women having a big impact today in Africa, not only in Uganda, but you being chosen to be one of the 18 finalists. What do you think, I mean, what was your impact, or what did you add to the sector that you're in today to enable you to be among the best 18 actually?
I think one of the things that I believe made us one of the finalists is solving a problem that is actually prevalent. There are so many problems we face in Africa, and most times when we face these problems, we look at outside forces. We look at someone outside to bring in a solution to solve the problems that we have. But being able to see a challenge and saying we can actually offer a solution that is home-based and do it really well is one of those things that set us apart. And we've been studying the industry. We've been looking at the agriculture sector. We've been looking at pain points within the Ugandan market and looking for better ways of solutions to address these. So I believe that's the reason why we were chosen as a finalist, because we are solving an actual problem that is being faced by lots of people in Uganda and across.
Evelyn, again, just help us around this conversation. When you introduced Vouch Digital in 2015, the whole idea was to bridge the gap between smallholders and government funds. How do you intend to actually make this work? I mean, since 2015 till today, how have you been working around this conversation?
So, we have been intentionally working with different stakeholders. So what Vouch Digital is doing today is developing digital technologies. And we're doing the electronic voucher system right now that is helping in the agriculture sector. And the contribution we are bringing is saying, we have traditional systems that are already present. We have so many programs, cash-based programs that run every year in Uganda by government, by development agencies, by private sector. And they all distribute cash, they all distribute seed crops, post-harvest equipment, and other equipment to smallholder farmers. And as we know, in most of our African countries, we don't have systems that reliably track the whole ecosystem of a payment, whether it's a payment or subsidy or any distribution. And we looked at that as a challenge that we could solve using technology. So to answer your question, what we've been doing from 2015 today is engaging with different stakeholders to understand the pain points that they face. So we've worked specifically with development agencies, we've worked specifically with agro-dealers, we've had conversations with farmers themselves at the bottom of the pyramid, and we've had all these conversations across the board with every different stakeholder to understand the pain point and then to look at a situation, at a solution that is technologically enabled to solve these problems of distributions in Uganda.
Now, maybe one other thing that I would like to touch base with you is we're looking at Uganda having over 40% of people living in rural areas actually living under the poverty line. Now, we all know that economies in Sub-Saharan Africa, most of them depend on their agriculture sector as the backbone of the economy. Now, how do you see technology disrupting this particular part of the sector?
A very important point, because 80% of the Ugandan economy is actually powered by culture. That means we all depend on those smallholder farmers who actually have the most, I would say, miserable lives because they live under the poverty line. And the role of technology in this aspect of agriculture and the role of technology in empowering a smallholder farmer is to say that they're empowering our economy, and there should be simple tools that should be given to their hand, to them to actually make them better. So most of them, if you look at the population, while they don't have a lot, they all have mobile phones, for instance. And I've worked with smallholder farmers in rural areas. I've traveled across Uganda to meet with most families. And I know that one of the basic things that most of these families have is a mobile phone. And so we are looking at how do we use the simple technologies that they have to bring the biggest impact in the agriculture sector. So for me, Vouch Digital is built on that awareness of saying we can start with the simplest of technologies that is available in their hands, which is a mobile phone, and then looking at ways to make their lives better. Like I said, you have governments that are looking at giving them subsidies, but if they use middlemen, most of these payments don't even reach the end users. So they lose out on making their lives better. They lose out on making their livelihoods even much better because someone is actually taking what is supposed to be theirs. So technology can bridge all of these pain points and say, we can transparently be able to help them. We can put systems in, can show farmer X in this village is supposed to receive 5 kilograms of beans for them to plant in the next season, and they will actually receive that. And if we can track that in a more transparent and effective way, you're not only helping the development agency, but you're actually helping a farmer himself, because they get to have what they are intended to have, and then that makes their livelihoods even much better. So technology plays a very huge role in enabling, in ensuring that happens.
That's very interesting. But then, Evelyn, when we look at the numbers here that we actually should help us understand how exactly technology is used, maybe say in the urban areas in East Africa, with Uganda also at the focal point here, we're only looking at, say, a 50 to 60% of the telephone penetrations. But again, with your software that you're actually using to help these farmers have the subsidies and the money to help them with their day-to-day work, what is the operability? How operable is it? Because we know that not everyone understands fully how to use the softwares. What is the operability here like?
Okay, so the operability is actually simple. Just look at the penetration of mobile money today. If you see, when mobile money started in Kenya with Safaricom, everyone thought this is a technology, how is it going to disrupt the space? How many people do you know today that use mobile money on their phones? My grandmother uses mobile money. They do not know maybe any other technology, but if you give them a phone and say, I sent you 50,000 shillings today, they will be able to know how to use their phone to actually access that money, right? So we are using that same concept, which is USSD. We are not looking at smartphones right now. We are looking at different demographics of customers that we are serving. So we have an end user customer who's like my grandmother, who's my mother, who's the person at the end of the pyramid, and saying, they can just use their mobile phones in an actual way, the way they use mobile money. Just dial a code, you will get an interface, and then answer a few questions. And we are also introducing intermediaries, because we know that end users themselves are not able to adopt technology immediately. So we have put in place people like agri-dealers, agents, who are able to then help these beneficiaries access the technology. So most of our technology is actually the people who interface with the actual technology that Vouch Digital develops are the agri-dealers, the guys who have mobile phones, are the agents, are the suppliers, who then receive all of these vouchers from beneficiaries who are smallholder farmers or mothers or whichever demographic you're working with, they take their vouchers to these agri dealers and they use their mobile phones to then redeem the vouchers. But in terms of penetration, if you look at what mobile money is doing, it's definitely possible for us to disrupt that space using technology the same way, finding simple tools and using them to advance to even more complex applications.
How many farmers have you been able to reach, to help actually get access to this platform as of today? How many?
So as of today, we've reached over 200,000 farmers. We've made transactions of over 4 billion mobile transactions using mobile money. And this is in the most remotest parts of Uganda. So we started our pilots in northern Karamoja. If you know how Uganda is set up, northern Karamoja is at the very tip where, you know, they had a lot of war in the north, and the infrastructure is not even much developed in that area. And we were able to use that technology with agri dealers in that space. Of course, we put in a lot of time to do the trainings and making people aware of the technology. But if we could have that impact in the very short time in a place that is not even infrastructurally very advanced, we believe that our technology, if it's very advanced for the most urban areas, we can make a huge impact, because 4 billion transactions in a span of like 6 months is a very great traction.
Evelyn, you mentioned that you hope actually to help Uganda take another step towards fully economic recovery. What did you mean by this, and how do you plan to go about it?
So I just look at technology as being an enabler in helping most of the systems we have in this country become better. If I look at the different sectors in Uganda, be it healthcare, be it agriculture, be it all of the different sectors, every single day, maybe a week will not pass by before you read an article in the newspaper about money meant for healthcare being embezzled by, a demographic of people, or refugee money, for instance. That's the one that is trending right now, being misused. And I believe there's a role of technology in this aspect of saying we have these problems and there's technology that we can use right now, here and today, to help rebuild such systems. And for me, being a woman and being a woman who's passionate about technology for development, this is where I see my role coming in and saying we can propose better systems that are using technology to actually make systems better.
Evelyn, let's leave it there. That was Evelyn Namara, who happens to be the founder and CEO of Vouch Digital Uganda.